Hey, welcome to Trendy Talks. Today we're going to be talking about For Honor for the PS4, also available for Xbox One and PC. I've been following For Honor pretty much since its announcement at E3 2015. I was in the open and closed beta, and obviously now I played through the game, so I know what it is now. But back when it was announced, I was thinking maybe it was going to be more of a medieval combat simulator. Now, it's not really like that, but if that is something that interests you, go check out our review of Mountain Blade for the PS4. Back to For Honor, though, we have to really define what it is. Basically, For Honor is a really well-masked fighting game played out on a 3D plane. Combatants use a new system for the game called the Art of War that really helps track your sword movements for both attacks and defense, in addition to other special abilities and power-ups. What the game really boils down to is a fight between two characters on this 3D plane. One of the game modes I think best exemplifies this is the duel game mode on the multiplayer, where two combatants basically just go at each other in a fight to the death. This game mode can be played either against AI or another player. Another similar game mode is Brawl, which pits two teams of two against each other. Now, I'm not really a huge fan of either of these game modes, in that I'm just not that much of a competitive online player. But I think for fighting game fans, they really could find something special in this. Easily my favorite online game mode is Dominion. In this mode, you see a pretty basic area of control game, along with a ton of grunts that you can just go and slaughter. Now, at first I thought these grunts seemed kind of Dynasty Warrior-esque in that they were just completely inept. But I think that the way that the game handles them by limiting your area of effect attacks against them and making them a little bit not as floaty really makes them feel a little bit more grounded. Now, in addition to the grunts, you'll be fighting other heroes with similar stats to yourself. These can be either AI or other players as well. Unlike most area of control games, once you reach the score that you're required, you also have to eliminate all other heroes from the other team. This makes each game feel much less anticlimactic than simply reaching a score, which I really like. Additionally, it's kind of a cool touch to have the other team retreat once they're defeated. And for the most part, that's the modes that you have in multiplayer. I really like the fact that they didn't try to bog us down too much in a whole bunch of just game modes that aren't going to get as much play. I'm glad we didn't get a capture the flag between Samurai and Vikings, for instance. Instead, we tend to get a lot more variety in the gameplay that we have. For instance, in Star Wars Battlefront 2015, there was a ton of different game modes, but honestly, I only really played Walker Assault and Fighter Squadron. But in the end, that game had very few maps, very few customization options, very few heroes, and a really limited single-player mode. For Honor does have a single-player mode, and it's interesting. In fact, in some ways, the campaign actually kind of feels like an extended tutorial for the game. Even to the point where really late into the campaign, you'll still get pop-ups explaining how to do very basic actions, like simply countering attacks. These pop-ups are really kind of annoying and really break the immersion, especially when they're just so unnecessary. It's kind of ridiculous. I don't want to crap all over the campaign too much, because I do think it is really interesting, just the kind of lore behind everything that I really think gamers should find out for themselves. I do have a hard time kind of pinpointing what is actually supposed to be in this world, though. The cities and the factions and everything all have a really kind of low fantasy feel, and it doesn't feel like it's exactly Earth. But at the same time, some of the customs of the factions, and even the fact that the language of Japanese is actually referred to without an actual Japan to go with it, really is, I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking things too much. Overall, most of the missions in the campaign basically boil down to go into a castle, raid the castle, kill the bad guys in the castle, kill the boss in the castle. Now, it's not entirely fair to say that's the entire campaign, because there are some missions that really do break that formula. There's some really cool sections. There's a mission that almost kind of seems like the Hunger Games, which was really cool. But yeah, overall, the raid the castle formula seems to be what most missions stick with. And, it's a pretty cool formula, so you really can't complain too much. In addition to that, there's a kind of interesting meta game, kind of a tribal area of control between the three factions. When the gamers first play, they get to choose to be either in the Knights, Samurai, or Vikings faction, and they just kind of fight for control over the world based off of resources you get for doing well in the game. What's nice is that the faction that you're in doesn't limit which characters you can play in the game. Also, there's a ton of customization. A lot of it is pretty cosmetic, other than in some game modes like Domination. Now, there are microtransactions that can help you get your customization options a little bit faster. A lot of people have been complaining about those. Personally, I think that the fact that they're so cosmetic anyway doesn't really make it a big deal to me. If you want it, buy it, I guess. If you don't, you're really not missing out on that much. But yeah, microtransactions just generally suck, so, I don't disagree with you on that either. Overall, I would give For Honor a 7 out of 10. Pretty good score. It does have a really innovative new combat system, which I'm pretty excited about. It has simple yet fun multiplayer modes. The campaign missions are pretty competitive, and there's a focus on online play, which may not be a negative for some, but for me it definitely is. Overall, I'm really excited to see the legacy that For Honor has on this generation of gaming. There's been a lot of talk that the Art of War system is really going to be influential in a lot of other third-person games as far as combat goes, much like the Arkham series combat was. I'm not entirely sure that's going to be the case. It's pretty cool, but it might be a little bit gimmicky for that, but who knows, maybe with some tweaks it can be really much more effective. I'm also excited to see if the lore goes anywhere, if there's any sequels to this game, which I guess there could be. I actually have a theory for Honor that it might be set in like a post-apocalyptic Earth, which could explain some of those cultural issues that we were talking about earlier. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Maybe you'll see that sometime in the future. But yeah, to see a lot of our other cool stuff like the Games Well show, the Boardroom, our tabletop gaming show, Subtrending for geek news, go ahead and subscribe and check out some of the cool stuff we have coming this week.